In today's student-related presentation, I'm looking at the topic cognitive learning strategies. And I hope that if you are a student watching this, you find them useful. And if you are a parent or a teacher or someone that is interested in understanding and improving students' learning, I hope that you find it useful. We would explain what cognitive learning strategies are, and we'll talk about 4 of the strategies, cognitive learning strategies, with practical examples on how to inculcate them to make your learning experience better. So what are cognitive learning strategies? Simply put, cognitive learning strategies are strategies or techniques that you use in learning that you try to consciously process information and manipulate it such that it can help you to retain that information and be able to apply it when needed. So cognitive learning strategies are techniques that are applied by a student or by a learner by intentionally processing and manipulating learning material such that it enhances your understanding of the learning material, your retention of the information therein, and your future application of the knowledge or skills gained. And it therefore involves a conscious practice of learning information or learning content. And it helps you to better understand what you learn and also be able to recall it, because retention is higher, and whenever it is needed in terms of application, you will also be able to do so. Now, these cognitive learning strategies are strategies that make use of cognitive abilities of your brain. And the human brain is so powerful. It's so powerful. There are specific areas that help us with our functioning, including when it comes to learning, whether within the school context or general learning as human. And so the goal of the cognitive learning strategies is to activate and utilize major cognitive abilities of your brain. And these cognitive abilities of your brain are related to specific areas of the brain that facilitate your learning process. Now, for difficult and higher order thinking tasks, so learning materials, activities, and all that require extensive learning, an ability to understand concepts and be able to use them in different contexts, cognitive learning techniques can be an effective approach to use, and they can help you, as we mentioned, to understand the content, to retain it, and be able to apply it. So now we'll look at some of the examples of cognitive learning strategies. And as I mentioned, I'll be talking about 4 of them with practical examples of how to apply them. The first one we'll talk about is chunking. So imagine how you mention your telephone number. You mention it in parts, although it is one telephone number. So for instance, I would say 0200152002. Somebody may mention it in a different way, 0200152002. So what is happening is that in order to learn the telephone number and for easy recall and being able to mention it seamlessly, there's this thing we do, we chunk it. So chunking is a technique that allows your brain to store and process learning information or learning materials in smaller and manageable pieces called chunks. And this makes it easier as it is for your brain to process, retain, and remember the material that you are learning. And we'll talk about the practical bit in a moment. So let's say, for instance, I'm a psychology student and we've done a lesson on personality, or you are revising towards an exam and you know that personality is one of the topics you treated. Now, what you can do is that instead of now trying to memorize all the things about personality, and in this specific case, maybe the big 5 personality types, at a go, sitting down and reading your notes, everything at once, you can break it into smaller chunks based on the sub topics or sub domains of that particular major topic of personality types. So this way, so this is an image of chunking. So in the first one, you see we've broken this particular image into 4 parts that are similar in nature. Then you see the telephone number, in this case 555, 555. So you see the hyphen in the middle separating it into chunks. So in any case, if I want to recall, because these are 7 5s over there, I may forget how many 5s are involved in there, because there's no other number in there. So what helps me is that I know that the first part is 3 and 4. So 3 4 3 4. Okay, I've chunked it, and the brain stores this information into those 2 compartments of 3 and 4, and it helps with retaining the information and recall. So back to the personality types topic and you reading the note. Number 1, you can read the entire note. So you skim through or you run through the entire notes to start with. So probably in the morning for your reading or revision session, you read through the entire note to just get a general beginning picture of the content. If it's something you are yet to do or you are now reading on it, that is also fine. Now, as you have gotten that general picture or understanding of the content involved, you divide into subtypes, what we call the chunks. So in the case of the big 5 personality types, there's openness, there's conscientiousness, there's extraversion, there's agreeableness, and neuroticism. So I can say that in this first session of my revision in the morning, I want to target openness. I want to understand it fully. So the brain, in processing information for that learning session, the first session, it will focus on helping you to retain information on openness. So you study that chunk of information in detail. You go deeper. You spend your time only on that, not on the others. And you talk about the characteristics of individuals that have openness as their personality type. And you will get to know that with these personality types, we talk about it being in a continuum. So those that are high on openness, what are their characteristics? Those that are low on openness, what are their characteristics? Do I know any individuals, or in real life, have I seen any of these examples? You do that so that your brain will be able to capture that chunk of information. And as you are going through this, when you are done, and you've made your notes, your summaries, and all the things that you need to do, you now move to the next one, conscientiousness. And that can be done in a different session of reading. So it may be that same morning, but you go for a break, walk around, do something different, and come back and sit down, and then continue with that one. So the brain processes the learning material on big 5 personality in those individual chunks. And when you need to recall, the brain is strategically positioned to help to push that information in the chunks that you pushed it. It is a cognitive learning strategy, remember. So that is it with chunking. The second one we'll talk about is mnemonic devices. Now, mnemonic devices are common with us. I remember in nursery and lower primary and all that, we use that a lot. So A for apple, B for this, and all that, B for ball, C for carrots and all. It's a mnemonic device in itself. I remember we using 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All the rest are 31 except February alone, which has 28 days but 29 in each leap year. That is a mnemonic device. So even till now, if you forget, the number of days that each of the months have, when you sing that or recite that rhyme, it helps you to recall. My very eyes may just see. And for the planets, we had that as well. So the mnemonic devices are memory aids that help you to remember information through associations. A for apple, patterns, and then cues. And when you use that, such as acronyms and the rhymes and all that, it can help you to easily recall information. So in psychology, going back to the big five personality inventory, as you are using the chunking, one thing that helps you in addition to recall easily is to use a mnemonic device like the acronym OCEAN, which is usually or widely used for the big five personality inventory. So OCEAN, OCEAN. If I remember OCEAN, then I can begin to remember what O stands for, openness, what C stands for, conscientiousness, what E stands for, extraversion, A, agreeableness, and N, neuroticism. So these are just devices or rhymes, acronyms that you use by associating that concept to something that will make it easier for you to remember. So you have a picture of this. So as I mentioned, A for apple, B for ball, you see C for cork, D for dog, E for egg. So there's a reason why this is done, because once those two concepts, though different, are paired, it's easy for the child to remember apple. So A for apple. So at the end of the day, in learning other words that start with an A, they can progress from there. And you see the 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All these are mnemonic devices. They help you in recalling information. And so you can form your own mnemonic devices in any shape or form, so long as it can help you to recall. For some of them, they are common, already existing, that you can use for concepts like the canoe, the ocean I talked about for the big five personality inventory. The third one we'll talk about is visualization. And this is where you use your imagination as a way of keeping or retaining learned material. And this is especially more effective with people that are already visual learners. And so they learn a lot by images, graphics, diagrams, and all. So visualization is the process of creating mental images or representations in your mind. And so you use your imagination to imagine a picture of an object, a situation, a concept, a scenario that easily helps you to understand what is happening. So if I am learning about the big five and I can picture a friend, as we'll see shortly, a friend who is always ready to listen, ready to hear what you also have to say, is open-minded, then I know that, okay, anytime I need to explain this personality dimension of openness, I can be able to use this person to easily remember what the characteristics of open people are. So it is an important cognitive strategy that if you adopt can help you. So you picture, as you can see here, so the students learning, picturing different things. You see the brain here, picturing a house. Just our ability to imagine situations. It's a natural human ability. If you tap into it, it helps you to retain information well as a student. So for instance, going back to our example of the big five personality types. So for openness, you imagine a friend called Obed. Imagine a friend named Obed who is incredibly open-minded during conversations, and they are very creative. They come up with new ideas and they are able to do things with a lot of creativity. So Obed represents openness for you. Number two, now you have a friend who loves to organize their things in the right order. When you go into their room, the bed is laid, this is here, this is here. They are called conscientious people. They are careful, they do things in an organized way, in a manner, and they are very responsible and they stick to the rules. If you have a friend like that, you let that friend represent conscientiousness. So anytime you remember that friend, then you are able to explain conscientiousness and how it is related to individuals, whether they are high on conscientiousness or low on conscientiousness. Number three, probably you have a friend who is the energy of the party, the energy of every meeting. It's like they are so hyperactive, very energetic. They are everybody's, buddy. Such a person is social. Such a person draws attention and they are very lively. This person will represent extraversion. So in the more common word, an extrovert. So the extraversion, that friend, maybe you know their name, Mercy, represents your extraversion. Then you have somebody, you picture a friend who is also the one that solves issues, brings harmony, the one that if people are in dispute, you are all, saying whatever is on, the one that brings calm. Such a person that brings people together, helps to resolve issues, is always the one that is more like the one that brings calm. That friend, you imagine this person, and that person represents agreeableness. And the final bit, you imagine or visualize a friend. So you relate it to situations that these friends have done what you are associating them with. And that taps into the bit of your emotions and creating emotional memories that are associated with the learned material. And that helps with making recall easier. So imagining that friend who is always agitated, moody, anxious, always, unstable in their mood, then you represent that person with neuroticism. And remember that in your adopting the chunking method, you would have been able to look at each of them into detail, what it means for somebody to be high on neuroticism or low on neuroticism and any of the others. So in applying the visualization for this particular personality types, it helps you in recall. Chunking helping you, using mnemonic devices like the ocean or canoe helping you, and then using visualization where you imagine certain friends in certain situations and how they relate to this particular concept. There are other ones we can talk about. So I'll talk about the last one and then briefly on some others. The last one I'll talk about is what we call self-explanation. And if you do this a lot with yourself, it helps. Now, there are a lot of times where it is easy to, teach others. But in teaching others, self-explanation is saying that explain the concept to yourself in your own words. So that if I say, what is conscientiousness? What are the characteristics of a conscientious person? I can set a question for myself to see if I'll be able to answer in my own words. And if I'm the one marking it, whether or not I will accept this explanation. And it helps you to, be able to retain information better. Self-explanation, explaining the concepts to yourself in your own words, using words that are common to you. Every one of us, when we are talking, there are certain things that are really common in what we say. Then we have rehearsal. The rehearsal can be very elaborative or shallow on the surface rehearsal or elaborative. So these ones are things that you can also do in addition to the others. So rehearsing, repeating the words. Sometimes you can recite all the elements, all the parts of the brain, the formulas. You repeat the steps to yourself as a way of rehearsing. We have summarizing. So after reading the passage, what is the key point in there? Then we have organizing, putting the information into sub areas. And so that is something that you do in chunking, organizing the information in sub areas, subtopics that are related to each other. And so there's an image of organizing that you have here. So if it is about animals, learning about animals, you can organize them under vertebrates and invertebrates. You can organize them under mammals, amphibians, and all. So that if you are recalling, you learned the information and retained it in categories that have animals that are similar. They are from the same line. It is easier to recall in that direction, and that is just how chunking is playing out in terms of using organizing. So in using the mnemonic devices, in using the chunking technique, in using visualization, the key thing that you will be doing is that you'll be summarizing important points and information from what you are reading or learning. You are organizing them into components that are easy for you to recall and relate to each other. And you are also able to do what we call elaboration. So that's where the self-explanation comes in. Explaining to yourself in your own words, examples and all that. You can talk to a friend and all that, so that you get a better understanding. So you make it clearer, so to speak. So these are some of the key cognitive learning strategies that I want to share with you. I hope that you have found them useful. And these are things that you may already be doing, but I believe that you would make it a conscious effort to engage them more. Because the more you do that, the more you help your already powerful brain to be able to take advantage of its abilities that are useful in learning information, retaining it, and being able to apply it. If you found this particular session useful, I will encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video. When you like the video, it helps the platform to recommend it to others, knowing that someone who watched it liked it. Thank you so much, and see you in another upload on this channel. Take care and stay safe.